Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Acoustic Northeast Podcast, where we bring you the singers, songwriters, and acoustic music scene of the Northeast. Dave, where are you?
United States of America.
Thank you. We talk about the music scene and topics that affect the artist. We interview singer-songwriters who play live for you and us in studio. Our studio is located in Brewster, New York. I am co-host George Malice.
I am co-host Dave Goldenberg, and we're brought to you today, as we always are, by hereithere.com, where you can find listings and learn about artists who are playing in the tri-state. Hudson Harding Folk Radio Promoters, because goodness knows folkies need promoters. And WBXO Internet Radio, streaming at WBXO.com. Classic rock 24 hours a day, except when they're playing other stuff like this show, George.
Absolutely.
You can listen to our show here, obviously, and wherever you get your podcasts. And please subscribe also on YouTube and acousticnortheast.com. And we will post today's song performances on YouTube so you can see what our guest looks like performing live. And be sure to listen to our Acoustic Northeast Spotify playlist, which features past and future musicians from the podcast. George, we have a very special guest today. Oh, and I get to introduce her. Today we have Carolann Solebello, multi-award winning, one of the founding members of Red Molly. But rather than me talking, Carolann, why don't you play us a song?
I would love to. This is called Burn My Diaries. Silent sentry standing on a shelf, pages filled with rambling notes to self, wide and narrow spines like sparrows perched to fly away. One by one I took them down and read them all today. So many names I don't recall, places and people held in thrall. Burn them all. Whisper witness, wishing what could be, telling tales of who I hoped was me. Sentences constructed for an audience of one, documenting dreams and buttons of lovers left undone. So many nights I can't recall, in languid prose and wild scrawl. Burn them all. Please let me keep my memories. Promise me, burn my diaries. Burn my diaries. Reserve the right to tell my story in polished lines and graceful melodies. Clean up details that are too gory in these messy, naked first draft histories. So many stumbles I recall cast their shadows toward a fall. Burn them all. Please let me keep my memories. Promise me, promise me, burn my diaries. Burn my diaries. Burn my diaries.
That's Carolann Solebello on Acoustic Northeast podcast, burning her diaries. I'm going to guess there's a little story behind that song.
A little bit. I wrote this during those pandemic times. I was involved in a project called Real Women, Real Songs, headed by Carrie Cooper, a songwriter from Texas. She had us, a group of women, writing a song a week for an entire year and posting it on the internet once a week religiously. So I wrote 52 songs. And during that's kind of the aside and just a tip of the hat to Carrie. But during that time, I was reading the diaries of Anais Nin. I was reading the diaries of like Emily Dickinson. And I thought about like, okay, once you're famous and dead, they can publish anything they want. And I'm like, well, I'm neither of those things, famous nor dead, but I have all these diaries on the shelf. Do I want anybody, especially my kid, to read them when I'm gone? And the answer is no. I don't. So,
do you ever read them? Do you go back to them?
Yeah, I think that's what kind of prompted this. I think I had in 2021, I was, taking stock of literally everything in my house and in my soul. And I think I read through some of this. I'm like, this is terrible.
That's so funny. My wife stumbled on her diaries in her mother's basement a number of years ago. She brought them all home, and it was the winter, and she was reading through them and then burning them, literally burning them in the fireplace. And she was a little sullen for a few weeks after that.
Yeah, I have been dragging my feet on doing the actual burning. I tease my kid and say, this is my instructions to you. This is my last will and testament. This is all I have as a last will and testament right now. And then I ran into someone actually at a gig in upstate New York. After I played that song, I played it like at the end of the first set, and he comes running up to me right after the set was over, and he said, it was like my mother was speaking to me from the grave. You'll never believe this. He said, my mother, before she died a few months ago, left me with a box of her diaries, and she said to me, John, I'm giving you these and you need to follow my instructions. Do not read them. Just burn them when I'm gone. And there were other siblings. And he said, Mom, why me? And he said, because I know that you will follow my instructions. And he said, I have. And I said, have you done it yet? He said, no, but now I know that I must. And he wrote me like a month later and he said, I want you to know. And he told me his mother's name. And he's like, I want you to know I burned them. I was like, good for you. And Mom is smiling at you from wherever she is because you followed her instructions.
That's a great stage story.
It was crazy. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this sentiment. And like, I channeled somebody's mother.
Do you write every day?
No.
I mean, diary-wise?
Oh, no. I used to. I was a very big journal keeper and diary writer. Now I write like, when I'm writing a new song, I'll write in the diary a little bit, like I'll do a free writing exercise or something like that, or, just random notes. But no, I'm not as avid as I used to be. And I feel a little bad about that.
I would think going back into your diaries would give you some song ideas, no?
Well, yeah, it did, apparently. Maybe. About what not to write about. It's like, oh no. That guy. Oh, that guy. Oh, no, don't know. And there's other things like, there's things that happened like before, I met my current husband, my only husband. I'm like, do I want him to know about this stuff? I'm not so sure. I mean, I've told him lots of stories from the past, but do I want him to know all the stories? Probably not. Because, we all have our secret places, don't we?
That's why you're going to have to burn them.
That's why you got a diary. Exactly. And that's why you burn them.
Burn them all.
Exactly.
So do you mine your life in that way for stories, or do you find yourself assuming characters and being inspired by external ideas? I
think it varies. I mean, the last record I did in 2018 was full of a lot of stories that were not necessarily mine. There was a lot of male voices. I'm not sure that would be evident to the listener, but a lot of the storytellers on my last record, Shiver, were male. But I didn't find my own life that interesting at that point. Like if at the next record, the one I'm about to put out, entirely me and my own life and my own emotional territory, mining the emotional territory. But both for me, I think it's both. Sometimes I put myself in the I position of a character, although it might not be obvious. Like there's a lot of folk songs that start with "I am Johnny Soda and I am 20 years old." No, there's a place for that. Those are historical songs and whatever. But no, so both, I guess, both and.
Cool. You've sang with a number of other singer-songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done any co-writing with any of them, or is that something that's just like way too personal? Some people don't want to co-write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I envy people who can do it well. I've only done it, like I can count on my hands the number of times I've done it. The only time I think I did it successfully was I was up until a few years ago, I was with a group called No Fuss and Feathers, which was kind of like what, in folk supergroup in a way. There was 3 individual acts, myself, Karen Oliver, singer-songwriter, and Jay Maffali and Catherine Miles as a duo, Miles and Maffali, late of the Yayas. We got together and made a group called No Fuss and Feathers. I wrote with Catherine Miles a song, now of course the brain is but it's a song about 3 sisters gathering in the kitchen and making a stew and talking about revenge against this guy who had wronged all 3 of them and what do they cook in the stew? Little Shakespearean.
This sounds like a movie. What was that movie?
Right? It's like
the
the little
Witches of
it's a little Witches of
Witches of
Eastwick. It's a little Macbeth. It's a little Waltons. I don't know, but it's now of course why can't I remember the name of the song? But it's on the only record that No Fuss and Feathers ever made.
So you're a solo artist, but you founded one of the more popular new folk groups, Red Molly, and you played with that for a number of years. You played with New Fuss and Feathers. What makes you or a person a solo artist at the core rather than part of a group of singers?
I loved both of those experiences, and I'm very proud of the work that I did with both. I was with Red Molly for 6 years, touring actively. We were hitting it really hard.
Yeah, hitting it big.
Yeah, hitting it very hard, and we made a living, which is like, to me, the pinnacle of success. It's like, guess what? We made a living for 3 of us for a long time, and they continued after I left. They continued to make a living and do really well. The artistic experience was profoundly different. I wrote very little for that group. We only ended up recording one of my songs because just what things are appropriate or things are not appropriate for the group sound. But I always considered myself a supporting player, and that was my choice. That was my choice with Red Molly to be. I played mostly bass, rhythm guitar. I played a little mandolin once in a while, but we started Red Molly at a time when the 3 of us, each one of us, Laurie McAllister, Abby Gardner, and myself, we were all a little bit tired of doing the solo singer-songwriter thing. And we're like, hey, how about we blend our voices? How about we sing some cover songs by artists that we love and people we love that maybe other people don't know about? And so it was kind of a refreshing break for all of us. And for me, I was like, I get to learn to really be a supporting player. I became a much better guitar player during that time because I didn't always have to worry about being front person. I was accompanying Laurie McAllister, and I could put tasty little things on with my guitar or with the bass. And, I was accompanying Abby Gardner when she's singing. So yeah, markedly different. And of course, I forgot that because when I left the group and I started playing gigs on my own, people booked me into a lot of gigs that probably Red Molly should have done. Like, oh, sure, can I come into this gig? And I was like, I felt like someone had cut off my arms, and I didn't know how to do anything anymore because I was so used to being the supporting player that I forgot how to be a front person.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you
do writing, your own writing in that time though? I know you said they only did. Okay. So you were still doing your thing.
I was.
That goes.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to play other gigs, but I did. Occasionally I played, especially locally, I would play. And,
you guys were touring a lot, so yeah.
Yeah, I made a record the year before I left the band. At the time, I didn't know I was going to leave, but I made a record just of songs that had been sitting around and collecting. I saw a record called Glass of Desire that I made during the time that I was still working with Red Molly, and I specifically didn't put any harmonies on it because I'm like, there should be one voice on this record because everybody's so used to hearing all the harmonies.
Oh, the harmonies were wonderful.
Yeah, that was the thing, right? That was what we did.
Yeah.
So you're from New York. You're in New York, born and raised, I guess. Which borough?
I grew up in Staten Island. And I went to college in the Bronx, and I have spent the last 30 years in Brooklyn.
So you discovered folk music then and became part of the folk scene as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
What is the New York folk scene, and how is it different from what it used to be and different from the other places that you travel?
Yeah. Oh, it is. I mean, I discovered the folk scene in New York through WFUV, Fordham University Radio. I was living on campus, and no matter whether or not you listened to WFUV on your radio, it bled right through. So whatever radio station you wanted to listen to, WFUV was going to be the one that came out of the speakers. And then they were doing at the time, I think that might have even been just before John Platt came on board, but they used to play, I think they called it city folk, all day long. Like
Nice.
it was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, city folk. And so I started hearing, in addition to, a lot of the singer-songwriters from the 70s and the 60s, they were playing new people like, at the time, the Indigo Girls, Tracy Chapman, Sean Colvin, people who were brand new to me and like blowing my mind. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, especially somebody like Sean Colvin, who played all by herself, and she was like so percussive on the guitar and just really, really powerful. And I'm like, oh man. And that's kind of what the folk scene was like in New York at the time. Like, being a singer-songwriter with a guitar was cool at that moment. I graduated in 1990. I'm dating myself here, but like in the early 90s, late 80s, Suzanne Vega was huge. Like, she was the biggest thing since sliced bread, and she came out of the New York City folk scene. She came out of the Jack Hardy Songwriters Exchange, which I still go to, which still exists. I could talk about that too.
Yes, we will
talk about that all day long. But yeah, it's different now though. And in what ways? I mean, a lot of the clubs have shut down, and there's new clubs, there's new scenes that I'm not even remotely involved in, because there are people a generation or more younger than me who are running house shows and shows on their rooftops in weird places in Bushwick and Williamsburg and off the main drag. Like, we were used to the folk scene being centered in the West Village and then later the East Village. Sure. Now it's scattered all over the place, like, which is kind of weird for like my generation, but great, like, really, because it still exists. How to get into it, I'm not sure, but it's thriving. And there's also like a thriving old time scene. Who knew? There's like all these like 20-year-olds who would like to play, old time banjo and fiddle and, old fashioned country music. And it's great. It's great. I'm not a part of it, but I like to go and watch.
Yeah. It lives on.
Totally.
And that's folk music.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've done some acting though too.
Yes.
Talk about that.
I started as an actor.
That's what I'd read.
Yeah. When I graduated college, I spent a few years in the corporate world and decided I really hated that, so I started auditioning. I had done theater from when I was younger, but I started auditioning for professional work a couple of years after college. I did a lot of dinner theaters. I did a lot of small tours, musical theater, some Shakespeare. And then just when things were getting good, when I like had an agent who was submitting me for better calls, he was a friend of mine, but still, he would submit me for a call. And it's very different to go on an audition when you've been submitted by an agent, because they treat you like you're somebody, even if you're not. So I gave really great auditions. I got called back for things like Rent. I got called back for something called Cape Man. This is like Paul Simon's greatest flop.
Yes.
Yeah,
it didn't last long.
No,
from what I remember, there was a lot of bad reviews, and
it had potential.
It did have.
It had potential. It was a great story. It was a story of like gangster in Spanish Harlem in the '60s. And I think I got like 3 or 4 callbacks for that, and I finally got to sing for Paul Simon. Wow. I was like shaking in my boots, but I sang. What did I sing for Paul Simon? I think I sang "Natural Woman" for Paul Simon. He wasn't impressed, needless to say. So thank you. But, they didn't call me back after that, because the story centers around the Puerto Rican community in Spanish Harlem. And when I'm in a room by myself, or at least at that time, I could pass for a Puerto Rican girl. But this Italian girl from Staten Island, once you put her in a room full of real Puerto Rican girls, does not match up at all. So they're like, oh, no, one of these things is not like the other. You're out. So
you were on an acting gig somewhere in the Midwest or Southwest or something, and you encountered a different kind of music than you were used to in New York. Tell us about that.
Oh, you read my bio. You're
read
good.
Your bio.
Yeah.
Memorized it.
Yeah, I got work as in a theater in Wichita, Kansas, in a play called Smoke on the Mountain. And I kind of bent the truth a little bit. My boyfriend at the time was in the play, and he was trying to get me cast. And he said, "Oh, she plays the guitar, she plays the bass, she plays the mandolin." Only one of those things was true at the time. So I showed up in Wichita. They cast me, and I showed up in Wichita, Kansas with my 12-string guitar, which is not a thing you play in bluegrass. The show centered around a bluegrass playing family. But I got myself a 6-string while I was there, and I learned to play upright bass in 2 weeks to play in the show. I mean, given, the songs were easy. They were all like Southern gospel from like the 1930s. That takes place in the 1930s. This little family band, shows up at a church in the South somewhere and does a show. But yeah, I learned so much because I had never played an upright bass before. I had an electric bass, but all the songs were in easy keys. So that they try to make the show a little bit foolproof. They don't, make anything fancy. It's just, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. So I learned that the bass is the boom and the mandolin is the chick.
But you went fretless. Wasn't that hard?
Yeah. Fortunately, we also had an instructor, which was helpful. And we had a bass that had tape marks on the side. So when I'm, playing, I could look and see, okay, there's the 3rd position, there's the 5th position. So I'm like, okay, when I play an A, I have to go up here. And when I play a 6, so the songs are mostly in the keys of G and C. Even better when they're in the key of E or A, because then you can play all kinds of open strings and it's just like thump, 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 thump. But I learned really good rhythm, which helped me when I later ended up in Red Molly doing exactly that. I'm like, yes, be steady. This is what I learned in that. Be steady. You're the driver of the bus. When you are the bass player, you are driving the bus. You don't have to do anything fancy at all. Play the route, stay on the beat. And and there were also like other musicians that I got to know while I was in Wichita. The theater was around the corner from a music shop where all the local musicians would hang out. So I'd hang out with these musicians. I'd get invited to jams. We'd go to the jams and I'd learn to, sit around and play. The only song that Red Molly ever recorded of mine was called Summertime. And it was about the 4th of July, a 4th of July picnic that I attended somewhere outside of Wichita, Kansas, in this house, boom, in the middle of a field. And it was one of the greatest jams I have ever been to. These people played on the porch all night long, and it blew my mind. I had never experienced anything like that. Like, that's not something you do when you grow up in Staten Island, New York. People are not
porch jams are not
picking.
A thing in New York City.
Not a thing, not at all. My little New York City mind was blown.
Carolann Solebello, why don't you give us another song?
I should, if I was really smart, I'd play that one, but I haven't played that one in a long time. So I'm going to play you something.
Being really
new.
Smart is overrated.
Yeah, I'm going to play new-ish, or new that is about to be on the next record. In the backyard, in the morning, in the barefoot summer, child exploring, she is humming with the breathing of the newborn blades of grass, just teething in the softness, in the stillness, in the sweet green smell of garden chillness. It's beginning and ending. In an instant comes the heat descending. Now, this is now. She is spinning, reeling. In an instant comes a storm of feeling in the maelstrom,
Wow, that's Carolann Solebello here on Acoustic Northeast podcast with a very Zen lesson for us all. But I want to come back to something you mentioned before. You talked about the Jack Hardy Songwriter Exchange that you've been a part of for quite a while. Tell us what it is and why you're part of it and what you get out of it.
Sure. I love talking about this. Jack Hardy, for those not in the know, Jack passed in 2011, but he was a songwriter based in New York City and Callicoon, New York, who was a magnificent writer in his own right. He toured mostly in Europe, but some here in the United States. But he became the keeper of the flame in New York City. He hosted a meeting every single Monday night, first at the Cornelia Street Cafe and other places, and then ultimately in his apartment on Houston Street. Every single Monday, he would cook pasta and the wine would flow and people would bring their new songs. Anybody from Suzanne Vega and John Gorka to, Joe Schmo next door. If you were writing, if you were doing the work, you were welcome to come and you'd play the song for your group of peers and people would give feedback. And this continued every single week for, 30 years or something like that. And then Jack sadly passed of lung cancer in 2011. But we kept going with the group. I didn't join the guy. I knew Jack from around. I knew Jack from festivals, but I didn't start going to the group until after he passed because I made him a promise that I would. And I have been going ever since. So since 2011. So
he was the Dave Van Ronk of the 21st century.
In a way. I mean, he was a little curmudgeonly too, like Dave Van Ronk. And he was a marvelous writer and he gave marvelous feedback from what I understand. I was too chicken to go when he was alive. So I had to wait till he was gone. And here's the story about why I went. This also connects with Red Molly. We the summer before Jack died, Red Molly basically followed Jack around at every festival he was playing in the U.S. It seemed we were there too. We're at Falcon Ridge, we're at the Woody Guthrie Festival, we're at Kerrville. Anywhere Jack was, we were there too. And it was either the 4th of July or the day after we were in Oklahoma, the Woody Fest in Woody Guthrie's hometown. And Jack says to me, he was running an open mic at this festival, and he sits. It was 102 in the shade over there, and we sit down with Jack, and he bought us beer, me and the Red Molly girls, and he said, "I heard you're leaving the band." That's how he talked. What the hell are you doing that for? And I was like, Jack, I have family, and I explained all the practical considerations of why I had to leave Red Molly. He said, "Well, if you're going to be home in New York, at least write some songs, why don't you, and come to the damn exchange." We're called the Jack Hardy Songwriters Exchange. I was like, "Oh, I will, Jack." That was July 2010. Jack died in March 2011. And so I was like, okay, I said I would go. Now I have to go. And we continue. I was just there on Monday night. We don't have it in anybody's house anymore. We kind of rotate it from houses to studios and whatever, but the writers still come.
That's
we
great.
still talk about songs and only songs. We don't talk about business. We talk only about the songs every week.
I want to talk a little bit about songs.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been working on a new album.
Yeah.
And so tell us the name of the album. Have you come up with the name of the album?
Well, that's a great question because up until last week, the name of the album was The Year of the Snake because this is one of the songs on the record called The Year of the Snake. But then I discovered that there are a number of other records called The Year of the Snake. Like last year, 2025 was The Year of the Snake. I mean, you can't copyright a title. So now I'm kind of shuffling around and I did one of those word clouds, when you see how many times a word is used, and I threw all of the song lyrics into a word cloud, and the word burn showed up in 6 different songs, which is how I got the name of my last album, Shiver. The word shiver showed up in a whole bunch of songs, and I had never used that before. So I was like, okay, Burn My Diaries, which you guys heard at the top of the show. Then there's not the one I just played, but there's the Burn shows up a number of times, and I'm like, maybe the record should be called Burn or Burn My Diaries. I don't know. Because the whole thing is kind of, you mentioned the last song I played, which is called This Is Now, was a little bit Zen. This is kind of where I am in my life right now, I feel like. The past few years have been like a crucible, I'm in the middle of my life, figuring out what comes next, figuring out who I am after, okay, my kid is grown up now. I don't have a band anymore. Am I writing songs? Is this still relevant? Should I change my career? Should I keep doing what I always was doing? Or should I revert to the person who I really always have been? I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of meditation. And so what part of that is burning off what is unnecessary. And I think I have attempted on a number of these songs, what ties them together is the getting to who we really are. Like that last song now is kind of about who were we as children? Can we get there again? Children who are living only in the present, So this is where we are. The record was supposed to come out in 2020. So I keep telling people I'll be done at the end of 2020, which is very soon. Very soon. so soon we're sending it off to mastering like this week. So it's great.
So you've got songs on there from, give me like the time frame that you wrote these songs that are going to be on the album.
Some of them have been sitting in the closet since before the last record because they didn't make it to the last record.
Okay.
There's a song called Red on the record that's been sitting in the closet for a little while. It's kind of spooky. And The Year of the Snake, which I probably will close the show with, it was written last year. So it's kind of like a 5 or 6 year, maybe sometimes more. There's a couple of them from the closet because there's always songs in the closet, right?
Well,
you know, am I the only one who leaves a lot of songs in the closet? You pick your best 10 or 12 and you put them on the record and you leave others behind, not because they're bad songs, just because they don't fit the project, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's what I think.
And a good song never gets old. You can't put a date on it that it's, I can't play that because I wrote that 25 years ago.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
I figure if it still speaks to me as a person, it's still got somebody else to speak to. Like certainly there's stuff I wrote even last year that I'm like, that doesn't speak to me anymore. So how can I expect it to speak to someone else? But if I still feel enthusiastic about, there's 10 songs on this new record. Not a one of them do I feel false playing. So that's a good sign. I figured 10 made the cut of songs that I feel comfortable with right now, and I feel like explain or hopefully connect with other people who are in the crucible of life.
You're absolutely right, because they can see through it. If you're playing a song that you're just not really that enthused playing, then how is your audience going to be?
Yeah.
It doesn't transfer.
Like I wonder about people, very famous people who like have to play the songs that they wrote when they were 19 and they're, 65. It's like, how do you do that?
Well, you have to sell them and inhabit them the way you did back then. Otherwise, like George said, people aren't going to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's a good thing I'm not famous because I'm not sure I'll be able to do that.
We interviewed Cliff Eberhardt a while ago and I had remembered, I spoke to him, even before the interview, a couple of years before, and I said to him, "You've been doing this so long. Are you tired of singing?" And he goes, singing the same stuff. He goes, "No, I absolutely love it. I throw myself into it, and that's it. So then it transfers."
Yeah, I mean, well, Cliff is one of the people that I would hold up as being totally authentic in his songwriting. Like, not that he's confessing, but like he only writes and plays things that resonate for him in one way or not. Like, oh man, I learned so much from Cliff. Just as we got to open for him a bunch, like when we were in Red Molly in the beginning. Yeah. He was so good to us. And yeah, learning at the feet of this guy, among others, was like incredible because he does not play or sing a note that is not true emotionally.
No, when you think about somebody like Frank Sinatra, who didn't write a song, but his interpretation of songs involved him inhabiting a song, and there was so much authenticity and truth, even though it wasn't his own song.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I stopped doing musical theater, because I didn't feel authentic anymore. It's true. I kind of was like, I kind of feel like I have to squeeze myself into these shoes. Yeah. And I'm going to write my own songs.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you you talked about the business side of it. Well, two things we're going to ask you about. One is you are the vice president of the American Federation of Musicians, Chapter 1000, which is for traveling musicians like what we are. Why do traveling musicians need a union, and what can they get out of being part of it?
Oh, wow. How much time you got? But the encapsulated answer is we don't know the power we have, because we think we're operating in isolation. Well, I think a lot of us, we're negotiating with venues and we just say yes because we're trained to say yes no matter what. But when you have those words behind you, you're negotiating with a venue and it comes to that uncomfortable part where they say, well, what's your fee or whatever. I have learned to stand in the power of my union and say, well, I'm a member of Local 1000. My union says that the minimum wage is X, and more often than not, they meet or beat. And it gives me like some extra boost of confidence. And we're working right now to organize musicians, obviously, but to organize venues as part of that, because we're kind of a little different. Like a lot of you guys know this on the acoustic circuit, like people wear many hats. Okay, you could be a musician, but you could also be operating a venue or a house concert, or you could also be a DJ or a podcast host, and be a full-time musician. So the bosses, in quotes, are not necessarily the adversary. We are all working together to make this scene. John McCutcheon, one of our past presidents, liked to refer to the three-legged stool: the presenter, the listener, and the musician. Without one of those legs, the stool collapses. So we're working to organize musicians and venues to do the right thing, to provide dignified wages. Really? I mean, we deserve dignified wages and a dignified retirement. Can you imagine? I contribute to a pension fund right now, which I thought was unthinkable, when I was young. I'm like, I'm never going to have a retirement or a pension fund because if I choose to be a musician. But I'm telling young people, join now. Start your pension fund now when you're playing the circuit in your 20s. I didn't join until I was in my 40s, and that was a huge mistake. I should have joined the union before Red Molly, put it that way.
Yeah,
good advice.
Mm-hmm. It really is. I want to touch on one other thing. You've got a gig coming up on, very soon, August 7th. Tell us about the gig that you got going on.
Oh, yeah. I love the Folk Project. I'm at the Folk Project in, now, of course, my brain is saying Montclair, and that's wrong.
No, it's
Morristown, New Jersey. Sorry, I've been there 100 times. The Folk Project is a great place to hear music, and I have a co-bill with a young man named Kyle
Morin.
Thank you.
Morgan.
And it's just a great place to hear music. If you're anywhere near Morristown on August 7th, it is. I've played there so many times in every single iteration, in every single group I've ever been in, even before Red Molly. I played it.
Yeah, it's at the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship Church at 21 Normandy Height Road in Morristown, New Jersey.
Yes, it's on a Friday night. They do concerts every Friday night there, as a matter of fact, just about, with very few exceptions. And there's always an excellent crowd. They're music-loving people. So if you're a music-loving person too and you live near Morristown, join us on the 7th of August.
Yeah, and you have a website. Tell everybody your website, and it is posted on your website because I check to make sure that you're doing your job.
That's right. You got all that stuff off my website. So yes, on my website is my full name, Carolann, Carolann Solebello, SOLEBELLO.com.
Excellent. And thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate you making the ride up from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we wish you good luck on this new album. Burn will be, I believe, in the title somewhere along the line. It's funny how album titles, they kind of name themselves in a way.
Burn Them All, I think would be
what do you say?
Burn Them All.
Burn Them All
would be a badass title for an album.
That is not one. Thank you, Dave. That's not one I thought about. I'm going to have to give you a hat tip if I use that one, man. Oh my God.
But anyway, please close us out with the tune, and please tell us what you're going to play.
This was the former title song on the record. This is called The Year of the Snake. 2025, according to the Chinese calendar, was the Year of the Snake. This is the Year of the Monkey. But this is the Year of the Snake. Sleeping, hugging the curves, this rattle trap car shimmies and swerves on a midnight mission, testing my nerves. Trees hang heavy over the road, shoulders bend under the load, and my heart starts pounding, fit to explode. Fighting with myself to stay away. I see what's coming between the fight and the flight. Is it time to hit the gas or ride the brake? The bell